So I got two new movies that are coming out on the 11th that are two super indie films. One is a creature-rific anthology of monsters from the Terrifier producer, and one is a exploitation comedy that is stomping Yahtzees. So let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review and an unboxing of two titles that MVD Entertainment sent me. Thank you so much for sending these out, alongside with Ruthless Studios and Epic Pictures. You guys all rock. But yeah, we got two movies that I'm going to be talking about here that I think you might want to check out for yourself if you are into indie filmmaking. And I'll put all the links and everything down below for you. They're coming out on the 11th, so you can, wish list them or buy them now on the links down below. First up, we have All Hallows Eve Trickster, which is sort of a continuation of the All Hallows Eve franchise, which, as you probably know, the Terrifier got its start from. I think it goes back even further than that, but All Hallows Eve is the one that got the Terrifier and was putting in these tapes and everything. This is a newer movie that came out in 2023 that's now getting a physical release on DVD through Ruthless Studios, and I got a chance to check it out. And it's an anthology of a bunch of different sort of indie creatures. It's from one of the producers of Terrifier 2. So what is it all about? Well, an isolated sort of traveler who's on the road on Halloween night stops at a gas station and comes across this creature known as the Trickster, and she gets trapped in this room full of creatures. I think it's a little hard to tell because the beginning is a little dark. I'm not sure why, but unbeknownst to her, the eerie gas station is the residence of a family of degenerate, devilish creatures that each have a story to tell about their wicked ways. And if you can see, there is quite the plethora of creatures. This does have a lot of practical effects in it. If it's done on a very super indie budget, you have to lower your expectations. This is not a big budget film. The ideas are big, and I liked some of the stories in here, and they give enough variety of these sort of creatures and characters to make it feel like a really vibrant sort of stylistic anthology. I've seen better anthologies than this one, but I really have to give it some credit where credit's due. They have a lot of different directors. There's like 7 different directors, 7 different creatures or more that I think you should be interested in, because some of them I really liked and some of them were a little bit on the okay side. But I think for the most part, for a very indie budget film, this has done a lot. One that has a creature that lives in the basement of his grandmother's house. There's one that's done in an old West style that has like a woman that shapeshifts. There's one that's like a killer that's like a slasher in it. There are just a ton of different creative ideas in here. One of them, I don't know if I can spoil it or not, but it was like a Cyclops monster and this woman at a bar, and I think that one probably had me the most. But yeah, it's super schlocky, super graphic and gory in this film. But just remember, you're dealing with a low-level budget, which I always personally enjoy when I see a indie film. Like, if they do at least some practical effects in this sort of anthology, I'm super happy. There was some CGI that they did in like an animated sense in some of the in-between scenes, but it was really kind of hard to tell because it was so dark. Felt like I couldn't see what was going on in the beginning of the movie, and I don't know why. It's just a minor gripe really, because it doesn't really change anything. But the one character, which I think is this one on the front here, you can kind of see it, but you don't throughout the whole B-roll. Because when anthologies, they have the wraparound story, it does the B-roll in it. Ultimately though, even though it does lack in a couple of areas, I think that there is some fun to be had here. As long as you lower your expectations, you should have a pretty decent time. And on an indie score, because I feel like, comparing this to a mainstream movie seems a little unfair. So on a very indie shoestring budget, I think this is actually like a 6, maybe even a 6.5 8.5 out of 10. Totally watchable, and if you're into indie films and are open to them, I think this is one you might want to check out, and I'm kind of looking forward to checking out Inferno next time to see where they go with that one. Now, as far as the extras on here, you are not going to get very much. There is basically, I think, a trailer, and that's about it. And then there is no reversible cover. It's pretty much just the movie, but it's pretty cheap and affordable too. So if you want to pick up a copy, it's not that bad. But, you know, I'll give you some of the view here to give you a little bit of a closer look on it. All Hallows Eve came out in 2023 and is on Tubi as well, but you can also pick it up now on DVD, and that's why I'm talking about it. They even have another one called Inferno, so All Hallows Eve Inferno on Tubi, and I don't know if that's got a release just yet, but we'll find out. Up next, we got an Indiegogo platformed one called Dynamite 1944, and this is a movie that they were raising funds for all the way back in like 2018, 2019. It's by Robbie Davison, who is a Scottish writer and director, and he wanted to do a Nazi exploitation sort of film, which, you know, who doesn't love stomping Nazis? But, you know, this one is a very, very low budget, so while they do a lot of CGI, like blood effects and things like that, they were literally throwing balloons of like water and red food coloring at people to kind of stretch that out and make it look like they're getting impacted by bullets, which works. It wasn't my preferred method, but you know, you got to do what you got to do with what you have money-wise to try to make this movie as big as it is. It is a big looking movie, even though it might have some like CGI moments where they like use a green screen to cut people in. So the story of Dynamite 1944 is about a guy named Dynamite who's just kind of a badass. He's kind of like Indiana Jones or BJ Blazkowicz from the Wolfenstein video game franchise. And he's out there beating up Nazis, and they throw in a nice little dash of zombies to the mix to give it something a little bit more, make it more exploitative and more silly. Kind of rides that line a little bit, but by the end of the movie, I did feel a little worn out by the movie, and the comedy wasn't so spectacular that I was just laughing my ass off. There were a few funny moments mixed with the gore and the like silliness. It kind of works very much in the style of an exploitation film, kind of like Black Dynamite, if you ever saw that, but this is on the Nazi level and like doing like that. All the voices are dubbed too, so it's made to kind of give it that feel about it, but also to try to probably to cover some of the Scottish accents in the movie. Although there are some British guys in there and everything. There's a whole slew of different characters that you meet in this movie. It's fun. The comedy, I wouldn't say is like the best. You know, these kind of movies I enjoy for what they are, but they really kind of start to wear on you when it comes to the comedy. It's like at first you're like really into it, and then it just kind of becomes a slog of comedy that like wears on you a little bit by the end of the movie. But, you know, as a film that's like kind of gritty and rough and raw around the edges, it's really not a bad film for as much as they did in this movie for as little money as they had. If you've seen movies like Mad Heidi or, you know, other ones like that, this is kind of in that category, trying to go for that sort of exploitation 70s sort of style. Mad Heidi, by the way, is far more graphic than this movie, but we get some good stuff in this film just on a lower budget kind of case. So now the cast is pretty new, and not really heard of a lot of them really, but there are a couple recognizable faces, and I did look through the IMDb to try to pick apart who those people were, and I noticed that Noah Hathaway is in this movie, but I couldn't figure out which part he played. If you remember, Noah Hathaway played Atreyu in Neverending Story, which we've been kind of talking about a lot lately. So it's kind of weird to see him in this random film that I was sent by MBD, but he's in there somewhere, so maybe somebody can point it out to me. I would probably give this movie at least a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10. It is pretty astounding what they did with the film with so little of a budget, because there is a ton of cast in this movie. And I gotta say, watching the extras, man, it looked like these guys we're having the best of times making films, and for an indie budget to be able to make that many people happy on a set is pretty awesome. So, you know, it's a fun film. It's not going to be for everybody. Maybe I'm just not the target demographic. If you don't mind indie films, this might be for you. Maybe it's just not 100% for me. But yeah, it's impressive. It makes you want to go on and make a film to do it yourself, you know, like having as big a cast as they did. It's surprising they got that many people to do it, you know, and you could tell that a lot of them were really close friends and stuff, and the extras. Now, as far as the extras go on this one, there is the case here. This is the original cover that they wanted to do, but I think they were worried about some of the iconography on here, and they wanted to keep it a little bit more simple with this cover, which this almost makes it kind of look like a serious movie, even though it's like a comedy exploitation. On the inside, you get the disc here. Now, the extras, this movie says on the back here that you get the director's commentary, the making of documentary, interviews, behind the scenes featurettes, and deleted scenes. But there is also extra stuff that they did to advertise for the Indiegogo campaign. Like, there's a video of them going to Japan, or at least the director, and he kind of shows his escapades out there, which I thought was really fun. There's some fun extra stuff in there, and like an Easter egg and everything. They even have a segment where they throw a guy down the stairs. They call him a nincompoop. But yeah, there's just a bunch of extra stuff on there than just what's on the back here. So if you are looking for more features to make it worth your while, this would definitely do it. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Are you going to pick up one of these? Is this something that you might be more open to than other people? Or are you like, nah, this is not for me? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Again, thank you MVD Entertainment for sending these out to me. Always appreciate their support. Thanks again. And as always, long live the void.